Hi, I'm Daniel. I'm a sleep physician. And if you have insomnia, this channel is for you. Very often, people tell me in clinic that they've tried everything and nothing works for their insomnia. In fact, very few people have tried doing the opposite, doing nothing. This is very difficult, but doing nothing can be a very effective strategy for overcoming insomnia. Nice having you back here, and if it's your first time on this channel, welcome, and I hope you find something of value here. First of all, I actually wanted to tell you something that I forgot. So Kathy from a couple of episodes ago where we talked about her having a sleep study. We're actually debating whether she should have a sleep study. She did decide to have the sleep study, and then the night of her sleep test, she didn't sleep at all. And we talked about how maybe that wasn't that helpful, but at least, something came out of that test, meaning you could tell that she didn't have like full-blown paradoxical insomnia. And paradoxical insomnia is when you really cannot estimate how much you sleep. So she didn't sleep at all, and she felt like she didn't sleep at all. That at least told us something. So I try to find something positive there to share with her. And what I forgot to tell you was that she emailed me back and said a day or two after her sleep test, the provider that had asked for the sleep test called her and said that, listen, I understand this is a real problem and let's get to the bottom of it. She was very happy. So in fact, something good did come out of that. And I just want to share that. I thought that was really nice. Now, before I talk about kind of my insight for today, as always, nothing here is specific medical advice, but just general thoughts and general advice that I hope will be helpful to you, particularly if you have trouble sleeping. Now, as I said in the beginning here, doing nothing can actually be a pretty good strategy for overcoming insomnia. And I'm going to get back to what I mean by that. But before, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about a kind of typical the typical scenario of developing insomnia. So most of the time, somebody has been doing fairly well in terms of their sleep, not really had any problems, and then there is some type of stress or something that sets off their insomnia. It could be something like moving or getting a new job or losing a job or something like that. And then even though you settle in a new place, you found a new job, you're happy with your new job, the insomnia doesn't go away. And why is that? Well, often what happens is, you start having a couple of bad nights. It may be a couple of weeks. And that's in fact a kind of normal reaction to stress. A good way of thinking about it is like, imagine that something terrible happened, like you lost a job and then you slept like a baby. That would be a little odd, right? So the fact that you're sleeping poorly after some type of stressful event happened, that's a normal reaction. For most people, or in most cases, let's put it that way, once the kind of stressor has resolved, you go back to sleeping like you did before, good or pretty good. But sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes the insomnia doesn't resolve, and often it is because of the following. When you start having trouble sleeping, that becomes a concern, and you start thinking about how can I go back to sleeping better? And you may start by thinking, what, I'm going to make sure that I prioritize my sleep, that I get enough sleep, and you go to bed a bit earlier. Well, that doesn't work. You're still having trouble sleeping. And then you think, what, I got to try to compensate for this. I'm going to try to sleep during the day, but that doesn't work. You're not sleeping during the day, but you still keep trying just to see if it will work eventually. And then you say, well, hasn't worked. Let me try melatonin. Doesn't work. But instead of kind of like giving up on that, you feel you think that maybe that's not enough. I should go to bed earlier, take melatonin, and I also need to buy a sleep mask and make sure it's really dark, etc., etc. And then you try more and more things, and this not working makes you more frustrated, and you try more things, and this makes you even more frustrated. And then actually the insomnia gets kind of worse and worse the more you try to resolve it. And then you end up in this scenario where you have there's like this 11 things you do to sleep better, but you're actually not sleeping better. In fact, you're more frustrated. In fact, you're sleeping worse now. So here's the thing. Here's why doing nothing can actually work well. If you try to do a lot of things to resolve your insomnia, the insomnia kind of often gets stronger. It kind of gives it power. You give into it. It becomes more influential. So doing nothing can be helpful. So let me be very clear here. Let me give you kind of a rundown of things that you should not do. Number one, you should not go to bed early. You should, in fact, not go to bed before you're starting to feel sleepy. You should not sleep in. In fact, you should not sleep beyond a certain early time point. And you should not spend more than, this depends from person to person, but you should typically, when you have insomnia, not spend more than, 6 to 7 hours in bed. And, you should not try anything to make you fall asleep. For example, if you like yoga, you should do yoga to relax, but you should not do yoga to fall asleep, because that becomes a sleep effort. It's something you try to sleep and it actually backfires when you don't sleep. You should not try to wear a sleep mask to fall asleep. You should not use melatonin to fall asleep. In fact, you should not do anything to make you fall asleep, because only your natural sleep drive can do that. And when you try things, that tends to backfire. So I hope this was helpful. Just some thoughts on how in one way doing nothing can work. In one way, nothing works for insomnia. And I don't want to belittle anyone's problem. I know, I think better than most people, how extremely frustrating and severe insomnia can be. But I'm just telling you this because I think it could be valuable and helpful advice. Before I let you go, I just wanted to share that someone that has contributed a lot to this channel has agreed to being my first podcast guest, where we will talk in more depth. I think this is going to be like a 15, 20, 30 minute conversation about how our first guest started having trouble sleeping and what he did and so forth. And I think this is going to be a really, really, really helpful episode that I think is going to be too long to post a video. So it's probably going to be on the podcast as well as here, but here it's probably just going to be like a screen shot of some form, and then the audio, of course. And I have other guests as well that are lined up. So I think once a week, probably starting in a few weeks here, there's going to be these longer podcasts. But I just want to share that with you. And as always, if you have any problems, questions, concerns, anything, post a comment here or send me an email at insomniainsight@gmail.com. And I hope to have you back here very soon. Until then, bye-bye.